Hello again my dudes, Kadim again with another Dragon's Dogma 2 build video, this time with the Trickster, the supposed to be useless vocation in this game. Now, I gotta be honest, I wasn't expecting the Trickster to be anything special, most likely because I didn't exactly understand what the point was. I understand it now, it's all about illusions, but how you use those illusions and what kind of party you got going on will be the key ingredient to make this vocation work. Now, when it comes to the Trickster, most people have checked the Trickster out and they saw how it works, and it's all about gravity, it's all about using the environment to make enemies fall, and I gotta tell you straight away, you are wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with illusions, yes, but with fooling your targets in order to, one, make them attack each other, and two, make them simply attack your shadow, your effigy, and recharge your effigy regularly so it gets its own HP bar back up so you don't have to cast it again, over and over again. And in the meantime, your party will be doing all the damage. Now, for this to happen, you have to have the proper party set up. But first of all, let's talk about the stats. Now, the stats for my build, of course, I started as an archer. I upgraded all the build or the vocations. So when it comes to the magic values and all that, it's not going to be ideal. But one thing I can tell you is it doesn't actually matter that much with the Trickster. So let's talk about level. I'm 97. Health, it's 1916. Stamina is 1365. Nothing special. Strength, 583, doesn't even matter because you are not going to be doing any damage, I assure you. Defense is 816. Magic, 824. This does matter a little bit just so your castings last slightly longer. They are a bit more potent. The HP of your effigy is going to be higher the higher your magic. Magic defense 939, not too shabby. Knockdown power 150, which is an absolute joke, and knockdown resistance 113. None of these really matter because, as I said, you're not going to be doing any damage whatsoever. Now, when it comes to the party, this is when things get interesting. You want to have a mage, of course, he will be the healer. You don't need him to have any buffing spells. As you can see, I'm using my Gandalf with the high palladium just because um, it gives us the palladium that lasts a bit longer and gives allies a cluster. The celestial pain for the infinite stamina just because um, you might run out of stamina at times, not regularly, but it might happen, but you shouldn't. But the most important reason is because this will feed the other two pawns you will have in your party. Urgent Succor for the healing, High Halidon to remove debilitations. Now, for the other two party members, you want two sorcerers. And you want two sorcerers with two specific things. You want both of them to have either Meteoron or the Cyclone. As you can see, both of the pawns I summoned have Meteoron. And then you also want one of them to have Augural Flare. And then you want both of them to have at least one of the other spells. In this case, they both have High Frigger, just so they can help each other cast a bit faster. And it's also important, if possible, that one of them has High Leaven. In this case, I'm lucky because both of them have High Leaven. So you need to both have both sorcerers kind of on the same page with each other because you want them to cast the same spells so they can do it faster and they can do more damage when their spells combine. This is particularly strong with Meteoron because if they cast Meteoron at the same time, yeah, game over for all the enemies in the area. Now, let's talk about my skills and my current equipped skills and how this works. You want the suffocating shroud. It doesn't do much. It just diffuses smoke over a wide area, and this smoke will kind of confuse the enemies. Uh, it will get their attention. This will get their attention to you, And that's what you want. You want the enemies to attack you. Simply because when they come to attack you, you will have the effigy on your back, and you let go of the effigy, and they will be attacking the effigy instead. Dragon's Delusion is only in case you actually are surrounded by too many enemies and you need a little bit of space because they are getting too much and your pawns are being targeted. If that's the case, this is the only time you'll be using Dragon's Delusion. It doesn't do much, it just scares little enemies away. So again, not something you'll be using a lot. What you will be using a lot is Binding Effigy. Now this little spell, I actually overlooked it at first, but then I started realizing, hold on, I now understand what this is for. This will cast an effigy that will latch into an enemy's back. Now, if the enemy is on its own, this doesn't do anything. But if that enemy is surrounded by other enemies, oh, all the other enemies will attack this guy now. So imagine a scenario where you got a big boss and smaller targets. If you put the binding effigy onto the big boss, all the small targets will now start attacking the big boss. At that time, all you have to worry about is the boss itself, because the boss will try to attack you. And this is when it's convenient that you move yourself around, and at times you remove the effigy from the boss and you put it on your back so it recharges again, and then you let go of the effigy so the boss attacks the effigy for a short period of time while you are casting the binding effigy back onto the boss. So if you do this right, you will never get hit, or even if you get hit, it will get hit only a couple of times and your mage can heal you in the meantime, but it will continuously allow the sorcerers to cast their spells without being interrupted, because they will never get aggroed by any enemies, not the small enemies, not the big enemies. You'll just keep them safe. Now, last but not least, Aromatic Resurgence. This is absolutely a must-have for a Trickster. This will further allies' offensive capabilities. We are talking about a 50% increase in damage output. It's no joke. In a party of sorcerers, this thing makes the Meteorons absolutely broken. Even the normal spells, like High Levin, for example, the lightning will do so much damage that a single cast will destroy enemies completely. It's an absolutely must-have. When it comes to the core skills, they have the Prevailing Fumes, which just gets their attention to you as the caster, and of course to the effigy that you will be casting with this little core skill as well, which creates the simulacrum. And as you can see in the example, the enemies will attack the simulacrum instead. So if you use the Prevailing Fumes, they will attack you. You use the effigy, they will not attack you, they will then attack the simulacrum. And that's how you play with a Trickster. It's all about the simulacrum, the fumes, and giving your party enough time to get their damage going. The Invoking Essence, it just basically is what I said. It latches the simulacrum onto your back. If you hold it, it will stay attached to your back. While you hold it, it will recharge its HP. You can actually draw its attention by causing them to attack each other by using the Binding Effigy, as it explains on this one. The Mending Vapor slowly repairs damage to the simulacrum. It's what I just explained while it's attached to your back. Drifting Broom, it just allows you to conjure a cloud of smoke if you hold square, so you can do this, the Prevailing Fumes from a distance. It doesn't really do any damage, so don't expect damage to happen. What it does do, and this is useful to know, and this is why you want one of the sorcerers to have the Augural Flare, is that this will trigger ticks of the Augural Flare. Same happens if you just hit the target by pressing square. So this is why you want to, when you see that one of the sorcerers cast the Augural Flare, you want to allow your effigy to be the target, just get close enough to get a few hits to help the explosions. Ephegeal Quick Burn, just hastens the speed at which the simulacrum is created. It's a passive skill. And trailing aroma, it extends the distance that you can call back the simulacrum to your back, as you can see in the example. You can call it from all the way back there, and it will last even if you get too far away. Now, when it comes to the equipment, I'm using the Dragon's Whale Litany, which you can get from the Dragon Forge guy. For the helmet, I'm using the Summoner's Crowd, which you cannot buy this one, but you can actually find it in the endgame area. I just like the way it looks, really. I'm using the Totemic Shroud, again from the Dragon Forge, the Runic Gaiters, again from the Dragon Forge, and of course, the Champion's Mantle. When it comes to the rings, I gotta be honest, I couldn't think of anything better to use besides the Ring of Triumph as usual, and the Ring of Quickening, which just boosts stamina recovery speed, which just allows you to recover the speed and transverse the map faster. And if you are casting the effigy onto different enemies as you swap them along, you also need to recover that stamina a bit faster. And that's basically the build. Nothing like showing you a few examples of how funny it is to use the Trickster. Again, I overlooked this vocation. I underestimated it. Don't expect to do any damage. This vocation is not about doing damage. It's not about being tanky or getting your foes' attentions. It's all about illusion and how you use those illusions. You create the illusions, the enemies target the illusions, while the rest of your party keeps you alive, keeps the others alive, and those two sorcerers do the damage. Let's give you those examples now. So first example I'm gonna go for, it's a bunch of skeletons and goblins all fighting each other. We come along, I have the effigy on my back, as you can see, I let go, the effigy is now on that enemy. That enemy will now be drawing everybody's attention. If that enemy dies, the effigy actually stays where the enemy was. So I allowed it to be there. Unfortunately, I miscast it and I lost the effigy. So in this case, I'm actually being targeted because they all had the fumes. But in the meantime, as you can see, all my sorcerers were safe to cast their spells and the meteor finishes them all off. And that's the point of being the Trickster. You just want to be the center of attention and have your effigy do the tricks. Now, perfect example of how this works if you use it well. Headless Phantom comes along, I buff my party, I got the effigy there getting the guy's attention, he goes straight for it even before I use the fumes. Now, you want to be careful not to approach too soon. I noticed he was about to ignore the effigy, so I got the fumes on him. I cast the effigy again because he actually managed to kill it. Now the effigy is up there getting its attention. I allow it to take some damage, but then I call it just before he manages to kill the effigy. I leave the effigy on this side now, while the meteors are falling on his head, destroying his HP. And here I am, just doing my thing, the effigy's there, he's going for the effigy again, I rebuff my party members. I can see he's still going for the effigy, but he was just about to move on to targeting my friends. So I get some fumes on the go, and in the meantime, the meteor finishes him off with that much damage going from the sorcerers. For the next example, and this is absolutely my favorite, we've got skeletons, we've got a golem, and we've got a minotaur. Everything going on at the same time. Now I come along with my effigy, I put the effigy on the golem. And as you can see, now everything is going to be worried about targeting the golem as soon as I have enough fumes on all of them. You can see the minotaur is actually keeping the golem busy, which is the whole point. But I need to be able to get close to get the fumes going. So I get the fumes on the minotaur. And in this case, the golem is just doing its very, very slow thing. While my Gandalf is giving us some buffs. And my sorcerers in this case were actually being interrupted quite frequently because there were too many skeletons behind them. So I put the smoke on the golem after I did some damage to his leg. And the effigy is still there, as you can see, attached to the minotaur. and now everybody is going for the Minotaur. I accidentally got too close, which meant I took some damage, and in the meantime I'm just watching the Minotaur destroying me because he lost the effigy. At this point I need to recast the simulacrum to get going and get the illusions working. Gandalf was kind enough to give me a little bit of HP back, and simulacrum goes back onto the totems, the golem's leg. But I want it on this leg because that's the leg that you want to get damaged. In the meantime I get some fumes on this caster, and the meteorons are falling all over the place, destroying the golem's HP. You can see both skeletons are attacking the golem's leg, which is great. This gives my caster, my sorcerers enough time to get their spells going, because the golem is too slow, so he is unlikely to interrupt them. And in the meantime more meteors fall from the sky and everything gets destroyed. Even the little skeleton that was just standing next to me helping us out. GG guys. Now, another good example is how quickly this party can destroy a Cyclops. We come along, you can see I have the simulacrum on my back. I get just close enough to let go of it by releasing R1. I get some fumes on the guy, so he attacks the simulacrum. You can see the simulacrum is already taking damage, but my sorcerers are not wasting any time. They are already raining meteors down his face. He's actually already stunned. I just get close enough to recharge the simulacrum, leave it exactly where I want it to be, and I get some fumes on his face. But in the meantime, there's not much going on for this guy, because before he even had the chance to stand up, more meteors were raining down upon him, like the apocalypse announced. GG. On to the next example, and this is actually a funny one. I show up with the simulacrum on my back, and the sorcerer was actually kind enough to cast the augural flare on his face. So instead of just using the fumes one time, I used it a few more times, so we get a few more nasty explosions. I got the simulacrum changed place just to recharge it slightly. My sorcerer's got some high leveling going on. I got more fumes going. I moved the simulacrum again so I can recharge it. As you can see, the wolf doesn't care about me, he doesn't care about my sorcerers, he doesn't care about Gandalf, and that's exactly what you want. And in the meantime, the meteor ends the party, as usual. GG wolf. Now, nothing better than to end up with destroying a dragon with absolutely no mercy. As you can see, he's already paying attention to my simulacrum. I buff my party members with the buff fumes, and as you can see, he's more worried about me and the simulacrum because I haven't cast the fumes on him just yet. So I moved the simulacrum around just to get enough of his attention, because he's going to target me, but I can see it wasn't working. He was going to target Gandalf, which was bad. But in the meantime, the meteors were already falling completely from the sky, and he nearly got all HP bars destroyed in a single double cast of Meteoron. But he is about to be killed with another simultaneous cast of Meteoron by my sorcerers. Thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments down below. See you in the next one. Cheerio!